That was Riding Home with the Reader. We are live off the floor at Conquerall Music for the Conquerall Mills Music Show on 88.7 Cove FM and online at covefm.com. This evening, I am featuring the music of performer, storyteller, and uke master Manitoba Hal.
Carnival came to this rural town. Every fool wanna lay his money down. We got a Ferris wheel, games of chance, tunnel of love, pure romance. Men will believe in what they see. Put it on a poster, they will believe. Everybody wants to hear the bearded ladies sing. This sideshow's got everything. We've got learned pigs, fireproof women. Everybody pay $1 to see them. Got a piece of the one true cross. Got the bones of a union boss. Now Jake Leg Chester and Bootleg Sam were working at the carnival. They had a plan. Saturday night when the tent was full, they were gonna rob the carnival. They would grab the cash and jump a train, never come back to this town again. Hide in the bushes till they hear the bell, grab the cash, run like hell from the learned pigs and the fireproof women. Everybody pay $1 to see them. Got a piece of the one true cross. Got the bones of a union boss. Now the bearded lady was still singing a song when the Mississippi freight train came along. And Jake Leg Chester grabbed the cash and ran, as Bootleg held a gun on that ticket man. They ran for the tracks but they missed the rail. Dog-faced boy was still chasing his tail. Stash the cash or pay the cost. They hit it with the bones of a union boss. Oh yeah. Never found the money, I know it's a fact. Took those boys away, they ain't coming back. Sheriff came around looking for the dough. Well, I hid it down in my bedroll and I left that town without thinking twice. I found my own way to paradise. Bought myself a truck, a small sideshow. Every single summer I hit the road with my learned pigs, fireproof women. Everybody pay $1 to see them. Got a piece of the one true cross. I got the bones of a union boss.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
And that was Learned Pigs and Fireproof Women by our performer tonight, Manitoba Hal. Thank you so much for coming in and being part of the show.
Well, thank you, Stefan. I'm glad to be here.
And looking at the title of that song, Learned Pigs and Fireproof Women, that's quite the provocative song title. Could you provide us with a little bit of context as to what the song's about?
Sure. I've always been fascinated with sideshows, carnivals, and the history of that. And there is a series of acts in those days that were learned pigs that could do mathematics. Mm-hmm. Fireproof women, which was one of my favorite definitions. A woman dressed very beautifully would walk on stage with a raw piece of meat, and she would walk through a chamber, and she would come out, and the steak would be cooked.
Aha.
And the chamber was, of course, an oven or some sort of, fire chamber. And so she was fireproof. And I always found this to be a fascinating idea that people would, pay money to even see this because it's so obvious the cooked steak is inside.
Yes.
But, it's they it kind of intrigued me, and there was a book a little while ago put out by a guy named Ricky Jay called "Learned Pigs and Fireproof Women," and it was basically a history of all these carnival sideshows, and guys like the Regurgitator and various other acts that are too polite to mention in this company, or rather, this is polite company, therefore I won't mention them. But I was just intrigued by the title, and I had this story that I'd been nursing of this robbery, and I thought suddenly that was it. It was like, aha, it's a carnival, and that's where it happens. And then, of course, the big twist is that the narrator is not an innocent bystander. He actually ends up with the money that the would-be thieves try to steal. And I always thought that was kind of a neat twist on it, that.
That's a very cool title for a song, and just a very cool song in general. You've got your looper pedal geared up here, and that's a really cool way that you can build and layer the song together and build that sort of backing track for yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. My goal has always been to take the ukulele and showcase it as a powerful instrument and as capable an instrument as any guitar. And so these tools have been really useful in terms of how that happens, and the being able to fill it out and make it something greater. And I like it.
I think you did a damn fine job on that, for sure. Did you always play the ukulele? How did you get your start in music?
Well, actually, I started as a guitar player. Like so many people, I wanted to be a great rock star, but not because I wanted to be famous. I always have to clarify this. I really loved the music of Eric Clapton, and what I wanted, my dream as a young man and young boy, was I just wanted to play music for my living. So I think that I started out with this without aspirations of fame and stardom, just trying to be really great, and like thinking that was the secret to it all, that if I was a really great player, I would get there. And I always say that I wanted to be Eric Clapton in the worst way, and in the end I was Eric Clapton in the worst way. And it's always successful. The bottom line was it took me a while, but I figured out that even if I learned everything that Eric Clapton had recorded up to that point, he was 10, 15 years beyond those recordings. And that I would, even if I got to that level, I would never catch him.
Yeah, you're always constantly playing catch up.
Right. So I moved on and just started playing what was in my heart and writing. And I was a songwriter as well as a blues slide guitar player. And then my grandfather gave me a ukulele about 22 years ago. It was in his basement when we moved him into an assisted care home. It was an old Martin ukulele. And he gave it to me with the condition I learned to play it. And that changed everything. Now I learned songs that he knew, but they weren't available for me to listen to on a record and learn, or at least not that I knew of, to learn the changes. So I found sheet music, and I had to learn to read sheet music, which led me to learn music theory. And so it kind of changed everything for me. And then what I would do is I was still playing my blues guitar, traveling around the country, and I would bring out a ukulele and play one or two songs as a bit of a change up. And then after a few years, those one or two songs came to be most of the set because people kept requesting songs.
Yes.
And then eventually I was playing one guitar song a night, and I stopped bringing the guitar.
Just taking up space in the van, right?
Well, it's like, okay, I could carry this big whole thing for one little moment, or I could just devote everything to this.
Take two smaller things with you and get a better product.
Exactly. Well, and not so much better, but the other thing was...
different, I should say.
There was a moment about 10 years ago, maybe a little less than 10, where I was talking to a friend of mine and trying to sort of figure out, there's ebbs and flows in the music business. You have times when you're really busy and then times when you can't get arrested, as they say.
A feast or famine.
Yeah, and I was talking to this friend of mine, and he said, every time you play the ukulele, you get a little glint in your eye. And I started thinking about the fact that when I would play a guitar show for people, I would do a great job and they would applaud and they would maybe buy a CD, but they would go home and that was it. That was the end of our relationship. But when I played the ukulele, people kept coming up to me and telling me stories of their life, their old uncle or father who played or whatever, and I thought there's something to that, that relationship with people and the intimacy. And I started seeing the explosion that was happening. Now, this was 22 years ago. I got to remind you that I thought that in 5 years, everyone was going to be playing the ukulele. It took 15 to 20 years more for me to be right. And for it to be a popular instrument over like everywhere. But I started to see that this was a good thing. And then about 7 years ago, I talked with a programmer out on the West Coast who runs a festival out on Vancouver Island. And his name is Doug Cox, and he's a great guy. And he said to me the wisest words I could ever imagine, which was that, every year he has thousands of over 40 white slide blues guitar players apply to play his festival, and I was the only ukulele blues player he knew. And suddenly it hit me. I've been looking for this thing to stand out. There's a thing in the music business that says the cream rises to the top.
Yes.
That's great, but there's a big layer of cream there, right? So you need the thing that puts you above everyone else, or at least singles you out somehow. And I've been looking for it and trying to write the song that would do it or whatever. And suddenly he put the nail right in it. It's like, you have it. You're already doing it. And so at that point, we dropped the guitar. We stopped even pretending I was a guitar player in public. We focused everything on the ukulele. And that was the moment. It literally was the moment when everything that I call my career now started. And I ended up getting booked to play overseas. I'd never done that before. International festivals were calling on me because I was one of a handful, still am, of blues practitioners on the ukulele. And I'm unique in my own combination of it. So
It's very cool to see you take the ukulele and put it out in the forefront of what you do. So in keeping with that, the next tune that you have planned for us is Come On In My Kitchen by well-known writer Robert Johnson. So I'm going to hand it back over to you. If there's anything you'd like to say about it, go ahead. Or if you just want to jump in, go for it.
Woman I love, I took her from my best friend, and that joker got lucky, stole her back again. You better come on in my kitchen. It's going to be raining outdoors. Oh, she is gone, I know she won't be back. I took the last nickel from a nation's sack. And you better come on in my kitchen. It's going to be raining outdoors. Can you hear that wind howl? Hear that wind howl? Hear that wind howl? Hear it now. You better come on in my kitchen. It's going to be raining outdoors. Now when a woman gets in trouble, everybody puts her down. She'll be looking for her good friends, but there's none to be found. So you better come on in my kitchen. It's going to be raining outdoors. Now wintertime is coming. Oh, it's going to be slow. And if you can't make the winter, honey, it's been dry so long. You better come on in my kitchen. It's going to be raining outdoors. Oh yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much.
And that was Come On In My Kitchen, written by Robert Johnson and performed by our guest tonight, Manitoba Hal. The name Manitoba Hal has a really nice ring to it. And this is sort of a two-parter question that I'm going to ask you. How did you get that? How did that become your moniker? And does that any way tie in with you moving to the South Shore? How does that all work?
Well, that's a good question. Along with the idea of being a distinctive artist and people like understanding how to peg you, basically, or what you do, categorize.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. You need a brand name that people remember. And my last name is Broland. It's a good Swedish name. It's exactly spelled like you think it is when you hear Bro Lund. But it's amazing how many people got that wrong. And I would show up places that I played 2 or 3 times, and my name would be different on the marquee each time. And the worst was this Italian promoter who couldn't read his own handwriting when he booked me, and I was up there as Boriuno. Anyway, I knew that I had to come up with a name, but I didn't know what it was going to be, because stage names can be a tricky thing, because they're a little pretentious when you start, because everyone who knows you goes, "What do you mean you're now?" You know?
Oh, you're Sting now? You know?
Yeah, exactly. So I've been playing this festival in Regina every year. They have one in February every year called the Midwinter Blues Festival. And the Regina Delta Blues Society, they sort of fancied themselves an international blues festival. And so they would introduce all their acts that they had brought in from around Canada with where they're from. And about the 4th time I played there, and the MC was introducing me, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, from Manitoba, Hal Broland." And it just suddenly clicked in my head. I thought, wait a minute, I'm a big fan of Mississippi John Hurt and Mississippi Fred McDowell. And I'm like, well, this sounds like those names, you know? And so I thought about it, and I looked into the electronic things, whether there was a website that had that name or anything that could be a trademarked issue. And of course it was all there. And I went, well, that's it. So in early 2000, Manitoba Hal was born.
And you've been Manitoba Hal ever since.
Yes, yes. Now, at the time, I lived in Winnipeg and had lived there for 25 years. Well, not at 2000, but I ended up living there 25 years.
Yes.
And so it made a lot of sense. I used to tell people, that was just my address, right? Whatever I am. Oh, yeah, I'm from Manitoba. I'm Manitoba Hal. And then about 7 years ago, I realized suddenly that there were places in Canada that weren't 40 below in the wintertime. And I'd come to the South Shore a lot. Liverpool has a ukulele ceilidh, and in 2005 I started coming to play that, and I really fell in love with the area. And so I decided in late 2009 that I would move out here. In fact, after the ukulele ceilidh in 2009, I decided I would move out here, and I found a nice little house in Shelburne, Nova Scotia. No family, no history in the East Coast at all. Just decided I wanted to live by the ocean. And the day I took my vehicle into the local garage to get it safetied for use in Nova Scotia, the mechanic, without knowing anything about my career, said, "Oh, you're Hal from Manitoba." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm Shelburne Hal." Now, he was probably making a joke, but right there I knew I couldn't be Shelburne Hal or Nova Scotia Hal or all. It's like, It hit me that, I can't change my brand name just because I've moved the head office. People know me as Manitoba Hal, and that's what I am going to be. And it continues to be a source of conversation among funders in Nova Scotia and arts presenters, because I'm the only Nova Scotia artist who self-identifies as another province. And they challenge me on it all the time.
Manitoba Hal, Nova Scotia Hal, same amount of syllables. I like Manitoba better. I think it's a more suited moniker.
It is, and I at the risk of I don't want to insult anyone in Nova Scotia, but the big concern I'd have if I took the name Nova Scotia Hal is that everyone would assume I'm now doing like sea shanties or Celtic things, right? Because he's a maritimer now. It's like, well, no, I'm not. I'm going to keep doing what I do, So I figured it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, so no bagpipes or anything tonight.
No, I've got a friend who is a piper, and over the last 7 years, I have tried 3 or 4 times to come up with something that I could bring him into the studio to do, just so I could include it, and I can't seem to make it happen.
If that ever does, please send me tracks. I would love to hear that. We're going to turn this back over to you. We got time for one more song before we hit our first commercial break. I'm going to let you set this one up for us. What are you going to play next?
This next song was written because 2 friends of mine within 1 week of each other emailed and called very excited that they had got new vehicles. And so I decided I needed to write a song for them. And so this is Automobile.
I got me an automobile. It's shiny, long, and black, and made of steel. Well, I sit down low in my bucket seats behind the wheel of my automobile. And I got me a full tank of gas. I am gonna make this summer last. When that wind turns cold, you know I will go where it's summer in my automobile. I'll drive to Texas from Montana down toward Louisiana now. Drive to where the blues gets played. San Diego to Chattanooga, from Chicago to St. Louis, down to Memphis where that king gets laid. All the highways and byways are rolling off my ways now. I know how to get my kicks. I'll stop at Oklahoma City. Lord, you know it's mighty pretty when you're driving down Route 66. I'll drive to Texas from Montana down to Louisiana. I'll drive to where the blues gets played. San Diego to Chattanooga, from Chicago to St. Louis, down to Memphis where the king gets laid. All the highways and byways are rolling off my ways now. I know how to get my kicks. I'll stop in Oklahoma City. Lord, you know it's mighty pretty when you're driving down Route 66. Now I got me an automobile love. Driving in the city, you know it's not enough. You give me that open road with the top down low. Give me an automobile.
Thank you very much. Oh, you're very kind, and you're easily entertained. I like that about you.
We're going to take a short break here on the Conquerall Mills Music Show. Please stay tuned for more music from Manitoba Hal after these messages. Welcome back. We are live off the floor with tonight's featured performer on the Conquerall Mills Music Show, Manitoba Hal. Thanks again for being part of the show, Hal.
Thank you.
I, like many people, follow you on ye old Facebook, and you are a man who is constantly on the move. I see you're in all different places, all different time of the year. If a week goes by where you're here more than a week, that's impressive to me. I want to know, you're doing workshops and performing all over the world. Do you enjoy traveling, or is that sort of a means to the end and goes part and parcel with the job that you do?
Actually, coincidentally, isn't the right word. I don't know what the word is. I'm going to say it. The answer to both those questions is yes. So I do find traveling to be energizing. I have friends all over the world. It's exciting to be able to go places. I was a working class kid. I'm not trying to make my story like, woe is me, poor little rich kid who travels around the world. I came from a single parent home. We worked hard. We never had a lot. I never imagined I'd be traveling around the world. So for me, I love the idea that I get to go places and see things. And I'm off to the UK in a couple weeks, and I'm going to go visit Highclere Castle, which is where Downton Abbey was filmed. I mean,
oh, nice.
You know, because why not, right? I mean, hey, I'm there. And so, yeah, I love all of that. But I have this duality in me, and after a little while on the road, so for example, about midsummer this year, I estimate it'll happen, I start to get sick of being on the road. And all I want to do is be home in my house with my bathtub and my Netflix account and put my feet up and not deal with highways, not deal with loading my gear in and out and all that stuff. But I kind of feel like it's foolish to complain about the stuff you have to do to get the life you want, you know? I realize that I'm extremely lucky to be able to do this. I know so many talented musicians who don't get to tour the way I do. And so to sit there and go, oh, I'm just so tired of being on the road. Oh, my God, I've got to go to New Zealand next week. I mean, come on. Nobody's going to have any pity for me, right? They're all going to go, oh, poor guy. Meanwhile, I mean, the truth is you get tired, you get worn out, and you need to recharge the batteries to have something to give to the audience.
Yeah, and I feel somewhat that way too. I haven't traveled as extensively as you have, but I did live overseas for 2 years teaching English in Korea, and I felt probably by the end of the first year that pang for home and wanting to come back, and since I've moved back, I've called this home base. I don't really have desire to be anywhere else, so having that place to come back to is always nice, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, and I find I go through, as I said, duality. I get tired on the road, but when I'm home in Nova Scotia through the winters, I stay home. When I'm home for a couple of months, I get itchy.
Start to get restless.
I start to feel like I need to go somewhere. Like, how come I'm sitting around? And people in Shelburne, I'm sure they don't know what to make of me. And I know they know what I do, and I don't want to insult anyone by saying that. But, most people have some sort of job when they're there, and they're either out on lobstering or they're not lobstering because it's off season and they're doing crafts or they're painting houses or something, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I show up and I just hang around. I go for coffee with some friends and we do puzzles and talk. And then I go hang out over here, and you might see me at the Sea Dog Cafe on a Friday night watching some music playing if I'm not the guy playing it. And, then I just go home and I'll go shopping. And it's like, I don't seem to do anything, right? Because all of my work is away from here.
Yes, I understand. But you are definitely, like I said, just looking over your Facebook page, and I recommend to any of the listeners at home and anyone who's here who maybe hasn't been introduced to Manitoba Hal before, just if you follow him on Facebook, he's always on the move, always doing something, which is awesome that you're managing to keep busy and make a go of it. So kudos to you, sir.
Well, thank you.
You're an inspiration to people like me. Let's see. Let's have another song from you. The next one is going to be in another original tune that you wrote. What is the next one you're going to play for us?
This next one is called Tastes Like Chicken. And the title, of course, I won't tell you anything about the song because you'll want to hear the story. But the title comes from a period of time about 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 2012. I guess it was 6 years ago because that's when I was writing for this album that came out in 2012. And I needed to write songs. And so I asked all of my fans to send me titles. And what I did was I took all the titles that they sent me and I threw them in a hat. And every day I picked a title out of the hat and I wrote a song. And then the day after I had written that song, I made a little video of it and put it online for the people who contributed titles, so they could all see what their titles generated. And so One of the titles that someone sent me was Tastes Like Chicken. And so it was like, okay, I have to see what I can do with that. And I thought it was a throwaway. I'll be completely honest. It was one of those songs I just did. I didn't expect it to be good. I thought, okay, this is great. It's a little novelty. You're done. It has been I want to call it an underground hit. Everywhere I go, people want this song. They know it. I'm associated with it. In fact, in Australia, it's one of my great complaints. That's not even the right word. Frustrations. I don't know how to call it. Mm-hmm. I had a song about 10 years ago I wrote called Poulet Shack. And another chicken-based song. It ended up winning Ukulele Video of the Year about 7 years ago.
Oh, awesome! And
that was really nice. And so when I wrote this other song, "Tastes Like Chicken," which was actually about 7 years after I wrote the first one, I thought it's just a throwaway, but people seem to like it. Well, I went over to Australia to play, and I played the Cairns International Ukulele Festival, and I was playing in this place called the Tanks, which are these big old fuel tanks that held fuel for World War II. And it's been converted into this stage.
Oh, cool.
And so it holds about 500 or 600 people. It's a massive stage. And I'm there with a 4-piece band behind me, a drummer, bass player, washboard player, and accordion. And I'm doing a whole night of blues, songs by Robert Johnson, songs by B.B. King, my own writing. And they're recording the headliners to make a CD next year to sell, to advertise the festival and to sell to people who wanted it. And so they asked me to sign a release, and they recorded the whole show, and they said they'd let me know what songs they picked later. They were going to pick 2. I said, okay, that's great. So I'm eagerly waiting to find out what songs they're going to pick, and finally it comes back to me. They picked Poulet Shack and Tastes Like Chicken. So in Australia, I'm the chicken guy. And I wrote 2 songs 7 years apart, but now I'm forever known as this guy who has an obsession with poultry.
What is Manitoba Hal's obsession with chickens?
Exactly. So Tastes Like Chicken. Here we go.
one of life's great mysteries no one really knows. It's a basic human question, Lord, I guess that's how it goes. But if you took a poll and you asked everyone across this nation, how come everything always tastes like chicken? How come everything, it always tastes like chicken? How come everything, it always tastes like chicken? That rabbit, turtle, cane toad tastes like chicken. Crocodile, alligator, snake, and pigeon, everything tastes like chicken. Now, God took 7 days to create the earth and the stars above. You know, he made the fish and he made the beef and all that other tasty grub. But I wonder, on that 6th day, did he lose his imagination? How come everything always tastes like chicken? How come everything, it always tastes like chicken? How come everything, it always tastes like chicken? That rabbit, turtle, cane toad tastes like chicken. Crocodile, alligator, snake, and pigeon, and everything tastes like chicken. Now driving across this country with the sun upon my back, I couldn't help but notice that every town has a chicken shack. Yes, every town is serving up something finger-licking. Lord, it's deep fried and I'll testify it all tastes like chicken. How come everything, it always tastes like chicken? How come everything, it always tastes like chicken? That rabbit, turtle, cane toad tastes like chicken. Crocodile, alligator, snake, and pigeon, and everything tastes like chicken. How come everything tastes like chicken?
My original follow-up question to that song was, what did you eat that tasted like chickens? But I'm glad that you had a more entertaining explanation, and it kind of branched out of almost like musical ad-lib almost, or Mad Libs, where you start with something and you move to another thing.
Yeah, I have had snake and I have had crocodile, but I have not had cane toad.
Yet.
Not yet. The truth is, actually, and I don't mind telling you, the truth of that song, after I pulled that title out of the hat, I didn't know what I was going to write, so I Googled what tastes like chicken, and that's the song.
Oh, that's
you type in what tastes like chicken, that's the list you're going to get. So, just letting you know, there's no great wisdom here. It's Google is my friend.
You have a reputation as your reputation, I should say, as a performer. I feel precedes you, because I knew about you long before we had actually spoken to each other to talk about doing a show. You're noted as being a storyteller. That's part of your performance. I want to know, what do you find appealing about engaging with an audience? And I mean, obviously, if you're playing in front of an audience, you don't want them sitting there looking at their phones and staring off into space, but not a lot of people go out of their way to stand up and perform in front of a bunch of people and put themselves out there. What about that is appealing to you?
Wow, that's a really great question. I like sharing. I mean, I like it when people communicate, hang out. I like the social aspects. To me, it's one of the great ironies of the music business. You always hear about, music, it's great. You play music, you'll get to know people all over the place, and all of that's true. But the truth is, being a professional musician is a lonely life, and you spend a lot of time in a car by yourself, or sitting there in the end of your bed practicing. It's not as social a life as maybe it looks like to people, and so I really love that interaction. I love seeing my audience. When I do have the great pleasure of being on stages large enough to have all those big lights I find it hard to do what I do because there's a sea of black in front of me. Whereas I prefer to see people because then I know that what I'm saying is connecting or not connecting, and I can entertain. On the other side of that, I get a huge charge out of seeing that something I did can make someone laugh, or I can see them responding, being touched by something sad or introspective that I'm doing, and that really fuels me to keep trying because it's so easy in this world to be anonymous. I talked about the fact that I moved here 7 years ago. I lived in Winnipeg for 25 years. The last 10, I had this house in a great neighborhood, surrounded by a river, and it was a wonderful place. It took me 7 years to meet the neighbor behind me across the alley because we just never met in the alley. I mean, they seemed like nice people, but we never ran into each other. My first 3 weeks in Shelburne, I met everyone in a 7-block radius of my house, right? And I mean, that's that maritime hospitality everyone talks about, but to me, that's a big part of life, and it's something that I want. I want community. I want interaction. I want to know people, and I guess I have a big enough ego that I want my voice to get out there. I'm not trying to hide away, and not be heard.
Well, we're glad that you're in here, and this is ultimate form of sharing because this gets broadcast out all over the airwaves, and you get to share you get to share your music with lots of people all over the world, which is a very, very cool thing.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too.
The next song you are going to play for us is a Willie Dixon tune called My Babe. Why did you choose this one for this evening?
Because it's a good song.
Willie Dixon is awesome.
Willie Dixon is awesome. Actually, I did it. I chose it for a couple of reasons. Music theory-wise, without getting too technical, a lot of blues is done with minor scales. And this is one of the few blues songs I know that is a major scale, so I really like that difference.
Oh, cool.
The song was written by Willie Dixon, but it was mostly performed, and my mind just went into that black hole that happens that everyone out there will understand, the sometimers, they call it. Oh, gosh. He was the harp player for Muddy Waters for years. Anyway, I'm totally blanking on his name, and I apologize to blues fans out there that now think I'm a pretender. But it's a harmonica tune. It isn't really an instrumental tune or like a stringed instrument tune. So I put a lot of time into sort of figuring out how I would play this. And that's not to say that I play it like the best or better than anyone else, but I really appreciate those differences in the song and how it's now something that is a little different than it was originally. Little Walter was the harmonica player. Oh my gosh. You know what? The one thing I want to say to everyone listening who now thinks I'm an idiot because my mind goes out of it, and I think that comes around, is, I used to think that I would never forget anything, and now that I'm 51 and heading on to the later part of it, stuff is going out of my head all the time. I used to laugh with my grandfather, who always had a notepad and wrote stuff down. Mm-hmm. And I think, well, what do you need to write that down for? And he said, well, because, you never know. And now I carry a notepad with me everywhere I go.
You now understand.
And I write stuff down all the time, especially if I know I want to remember it.
All right, well, I'll turn this back over to you. This is My Babe, written by Willie Dixon, as performed by Manitoba Hal.
My baby don't stand no cheating, my baby. My baby don't stand no cheating, that's my sweet baby. Oh, 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 don't stand no cheating. She won't go for none of that midnight creeping, my baby. True little baby, my baby. My baby, know she loves me, my baby. My baby, I know she loves me, my sweet baby. Oh, 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 I know she loves me. She don't do nothing, kiss and hug me, that's my baby. loves me, my babe. My baby, I know she loves me, my sweet baby. Oh, 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 I know she loves me. She don't do nothing, kiss and hug me, that's my babe. True little baby, my babe. Yeah, my baby don't stand no fooling, My baby don't stand no fooling, My baby don't stand no fooling. When she's hot, there ain't no cooling, my babe. True little baby, my baby. Said my baby, know she loves me, my baby. My baby, I know she loves me, my. I know she loves me, she don't do nothing, kiss and hug me, my baby's a true little baby, my baby. My baby, a true little baby, my baby. Said, my baby is a true little baby, my baby. My baby is a true little baby, my baby.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That was, is it My Babe or My Baby?
I always thought it was My Babe.
My Babe by Willie Dixon. You played a Robert Johnson tune earlier. You just played Willie Dixon, and I believe the next one that you're going to play for us is going to be Mississippi John Hurt. Do you consider those artists to be main influences for you? And if not, who would be your main influence?
Well, yeah, I do think they're pretty important influences in my music. I've always been inspired by guys who could sit down with one guitar and really entertain you. And, so in Canada, for example, tonight in Liverpool, Stephen Fearing is playing, and he's one of my idols. And I wish I could be there. I'm happy to be here. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to leave the impression that I'm going, oh my God, I have to do this gig when I could be there. But I haven't seen Stephen in years, and he's an amazing guitar player and singer-songwriter. Colin Linden is another one of my great idols. Coincidentally, they both are in a band called Blackie and the Rodeo Kings, who are one of my favorite bands of all time. And so I really like guitar players or even piano players, anybody who could take one instrument and one voice and fill us full of emotion and joy and sadness and everything. It seems to me that there's something, I find a purity to that arrangements by large ensembles or bands lack. While a band is exciting and interesting, it's that old blues guy sitting in the corner with a resonator guitar that makes you want to dance and cuts to the heart of something, or it's, a great instrumental player who is just flash. J.P. Cormier is another great friend of mine who's a wonderful guitar player, and among other things that he does, it's amazing. So that was what I was listening to. And then as I started writing and discovering that my voice was more based in the blues, I started going further back and listening to people like Sunhouse, Robert Johnson, Reverend Gary Davis, Willie Dixon, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, all these different artists, and try to find what spoke to me. And so, yeah, Robert Johnson's right up there. Mississippi John Hurt is right up there. Willie Dixon I like, but he's a very talented writer, and he's a seminal part of the blues, but it's kind of amusing because I think in a way he's kind of the pop songwriter or the equivalent of a pop songwriter in the blues.
Oh, okay.
Right? He wrote these great hooky songs that great performers made their own. He wrote Hoochie Coochie Man for Muddy Waters, and he wrote Little Walter's My Babe, which was his big hit, and he wrote a whole bunch of other great tunes for people. And yet himself, he was this bass player that was in the background most of the time, and it's a little different, but I love his writing, and his songs are always been fantastic.
Well, I'm interested to hear your rendition. What is the Mississippi John Hurt tune that you're going to play for us?
This is a little-known tune of his. I think, I don't have the exact dates in mind, but this isn't one of his earlier works. This is something I think he recorded after he was rediscovered. I might be wrong about that, and maybe people can who know better can get in touch with me online and tell me. But this is a song of his called Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me.
Blues all on the ocean, blues all in the air. I can't stay here no longer, I've got no steamship fare. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. You save those undertaker's bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. I work no more for money, and earthly peace I see no more. The only reason that I work at all is to drive the wolf from my door. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. You save those undertaker's bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. Now my wife, she ruled a happy home, and my sweetheart I cannot find. And the only thing that I call my own is a troubled and a worried mind. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. You save those undertaker's bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. Blues all in my body now, my darling has forsaken me. And if I ever see her face again, have to sail across that sea. When my earthly trials are over, cast my body out in the sea. You save those undertaker's bills, let the mermaids flirt with me. Yeah. You save those undertaker's bills, let the mermaids flirt with me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that was Manitoba Hal performing Let the Mermaids Flirt with Me, written by Mississippi John Hurt. We have to take our last break on the Conquerall Mills Music Show, but we will be back with some more from Manitoba Hal after these messages.
Hey, baby, don't you wanna go? I said, hey, don't you wanna go back that same old place? That's my sweet home, Chicago. Yeah. Hey, now 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 2 is 4. Watch out there, honey child, I'm booked, I gotta go. And I said, hey, don't you wanna go back that same old place? That's my sweet home, Chicago. Yeah. And now 2 and 2 is 4, 4 and 2 is 6. Better watch out, Stefan, you're gonna get your trouble all in a fix. And I said, hey, don't you wanna go back that same old place? That's my sweet home, Chicago. Yeah. Now 4 and 2 is 6, and 6 and 2 is 8. Honey child, you better not make me late. I said, hey, don't you wanna go? Yeah, back that same old place. That's my sweet home, Chicago. Yeah. Now 6 and 2 is 8, and 8 and 2 is 10. Hey, you know, Matt, when I screw up, they make me play this song again. I said, hey, hey, don't you wanna go? Yeah, back that same old place. That's my sweet home, Chicago. Yeah, I said, hey, and you all say hey back. Hey, hey. Well, that's really not very excitable. We want people to understand that there's a good show going on here tonight, so maybe you'll make a little bit more noise when we come back around, and you've been rehearsed, so you know what's expected of you now. I said, hey, 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 don't you wanna go back that same old place? That's my sweet home, Chicago, yeah. Back that same old place. That's my sweet home, Chicago, yeah. Back that same old place. That's my sweet, sweet home, Chicago. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much.
And that was Sweet Home Chicago, another great Robert Johnson tune performed by Manitoba Hal. Welcome back to the Conquerall Mills Music Show on Cove FM. I think that's the first time I've ever been name dropped in a Robert Johnson song. So thank you very much. That's a first. That's a badge of honor right there.
Oh, well, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
You do lots of workshops in addition to your touring schedule, which is pretty rigorous. You are also running workshops as you are going from city to city and venue to venue. How did you get into doing the workshops, and do you have any that are coming up in our area anytime soon?
Well, how I got into them, actually, this is the result of my manager, Nicole Colbeck, doing her job. She actually lives in Ottawa and manages my business through her company, Little Acorn Music Management. And one day, we were talking about touring and the difficulties of finding gigs and venues. And she said to me, have you ever thought about doing workshops? Well, no, I haven't. She said, well, you should try. I mean, you should do one of these. I think you'd be great at it. So I put together my first workshop, and I started doing them. This goes back about 6 years now, and found out that I love it. I have a real passion for it, and it feeds into an idea that I've had for a long time. I started playing the ukulele 22 years ago. When I started, there was no YouTube. I lived in a city of 650,000 people, and I knew nobody who played ukulele, could find no instructors who could teach ukulele, and all of the resources online I could find were, you had to search and search and search to find anyone who did this. So I've often felt, and definitely this has played into it, that it's important, those of us who have gone down the road and learned something, to give back to those who are trying to learn. And so I love doing workshops. I visit small ukulele clubs all around the world, or big ukulele clubs, depending on where I am. And every time I tour, every city I stop in, I try to find a group of ukulele players and teach a workshop. Because I find, it gives me so much joy just to meet people who are as obsessed with this as I am, mm-hmm. and also to give back something, to share something with them that isn't necessarily, it's much easier to find now, but it isn't necessarily, not everyone learns from like watching a YouTube clip or downloading a file. They like a personal teacher where they can ask questions, and I like to be able to provide that for them.
Oh, certainly, and in the age of YouTube, a lot of people, that's usually a quick resource to get a start to pursue something that you want to learn, but it's not necessarily the end all be all of learning, for sure.
Exactly, and I do 2 videos every month, the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday on my YouTube channel, that are instructional videos and paid for by paid for. I work with a company called Patreon, which is a patron benefit program. It's kind of like Kickstarter, but for ongoing projects.
Yes,
so
I understand.
I have fans who pay me every video, as little as $1 a video, but sometimes a lot more. And every 2 weeks, I put out these videos that are free for everybody. So some fans of mine, and I encourage you to take a look if it suits you. They give me the money to keep going and keep making videos and take my time out of my touring schedule to just impart education on YouTube as well.
That's so cool. That is
Yeah.
so cool. We're going to keep things moving right along. Why don't you set up your next song for us, Manitoba?
Sure. Well, this next song is, I always describe it as, I wanted to write a love song. In my particular background, I'm not really the guy who has a lot of successful love stories to pull on. So, my love songs are usually boy meets girl, boy loses girl, girl burns down the place where boy works. And so I decided I had to write something, and I needed something, I need to make it up, and so this is my idea of a love song. It's, I'll just sing it and you can hear it. And something is way out of tune. And we tune because we care, right? I mean, that's what they say. Oh, yeah, there it is. That's the one. I've been working on this song for 20 years, tuning. Is it good?
Sweet honeybee, call me your lover. All I ever wanted was you. I can make such a good home, my sweet honeybee. Buzz around my heart for a little while. Buzz around my heart for a little while. Call me home when your buzzing is done, when the flowers of spring have withered and gone. Sweet honeybee, I could be your hive, my sweet honeybee. Buzz around my heart for a little while. Buzz around my heart for a little while. I can make such a good home. Sweet like a flower in the noonday sun. I could keep you safe and warm, my sweet honeybee. Don't have to call me honey, or let me know when you're coming home. I'll be there when your pollinating is done, my honeybee. Yeah. Buzz around my heart for a little while. Buzz around my heart for a little while. Buzz around my heart for a little while. Buzz around my heart for a little while.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Sweet Honeybee. So this next song, it's kind of an homage to my roots. I lived for 25 years in Winnipeg, Manitoba, on the shores of the Red and Assiniboine rivers. And of course, we had riverboats, gambling palaces, and dens of iniquity that floated up and down. So this is a story about a riverboat and a gambler. But I have to admit that I was inspired when I moved out here, so it's set in Acadian Canada, as opposed to Manitoba. It goes like this.
Evangeline, your sons and your daughters, they shine like a riverboat queen. As she makes her way down through these clear blue waters, she's the prettiest sight I've ever seen. And a gambler, he calls out Little Joe, and he passes out rolling a 7. Me, I caught a deuce, Lord, and a 32 juice, and the queen took me straight on to heaven. So I'll put on my Sunday clothing, I'll put on my church-going shoes, make my way down to the river tonight. Oh, I'll sing these Evangeline blues. Evangeline, you wind through this country, and your waters flow straight down to the sea. And I've been a slave to these dice and a prisoner of this vice on the riverboats of Evangeline. Yes, and once you have set me free, once you have carried me away, I'll be rolling dice up in heaven tonight on the waves of Evangeline. Yeah. Once you have set me free, once you have carried me away, I'll be rolling dice up in heaven tonight on the waves of Evangeline. So I'll put on my Sunday clothing, and I'll put on my church-going shoes, make my way down to the river tonight. Oh, I'll sing these Evangeline blues. Yes, I'll sing these Evangeline blues. Yeah. Sing these Evangeline blues.
Thank you. That was very cool. So that was Evangeline Blues by Manitoba Hal. And before that, he had played Sweet Honeybee, both songs played on a resophonic ukulele, which is a very nifty, cool instrument and a very unique one to record. So thank you very much for sharing that with us.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. This ukulele was made for me by a gentleman named Mark Rogers from Ottawa. He runs a company called Bytown Ukuleles. He also runs a ukulele club called Bytown Ukuleles that meet every month and play in the Ottawa area. And so he made me this nice custom baritone resonator called the Canadian.
The Canadian.
He uses Canadian. It's cherry wood and nice two-tone ebony on the fingerboard, and of course the maple leaf insignia on it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a killer, great sounding little unit. Yeah. Unfortunately, my good sir, we are at the end of the show, so I've got one more question, and I'm going to let you close out with a tune. If people want to find out more information about Manitoba Hal, or they want to have access to your music, where can they go to find that?
ManitobaHal.com, ManitobaHal.com. And that has my entire tour schedule. There's some video clips up there from about me. There is my biography if you want to read a little bit of my history and the hype that I used to sell myself. And of course, there is also a music page where you can download, you can purchase for download, or just listen to all of my albums from over the years.
Excellent. And I'll make sure, as always, it's posted when the show goes to air. And it's worth mentioning before I turn this over to you to play your last song that we're very fortunate that we were able to catch you because you're just about to head out on tour. You're going to Ontario for a week and then you're coming back here and then immediately hopping on a plane and flying to the UK. And by the time this show airs, you'll be just sort of wrapping up that tour. So we really appreciate you coming in and fitting this into your schedule before you take off. That's absolutely awesome.
Thank you. Well, I have a good time doing it, and I'm not completely alien to playing in the Maritimes. I'm playing down in Yarmouth this summer for the Coal Shed Festival, in Shelburne for the Songs from Sea Level Festival. I'm playing the Bank Schoolhouse Festival in Cape Breton this August, and I'm always looking for opportunities around here to do stuff. Of course, every fall in September, I have the Dock Street Ukulele Camp in Shelburne as well. So if your listeners want to come down and spend a weekend with me and other great instructors, with about 30 of us, it's a great weekend. Just keep your eyes out. And you know what? And I've got a great forum with the radio. If you want me to come and play your house party or your backyard, let me know. I do that. And I'm home usually from late November to early March. I'm not anywhere but in Nova Scotia.
So good way to warm up and shake off the winter blues. Come out and listen to some Manitoba Hal music.
Absolutely. And that's not to say there aren't other times of the year. It's just harder to find me in Nova Scotia other times of the year because I travel all over.
All right. So what is the last song you're going to play for us?
This last song is a song that I wrote. My manager, Nicole, also runs these songwriting challenges, and she gave me a challenge one point, and I wrote this song to meet up with her challenge, and the song is called Come to Me, and it's all about meeting halfway, and it's got a fairly, I think, important bridge. It's a mantra that I've chosen to live by, and I share it with everyone wherever I go. So I hope you enjoy it too, and if you do, it is one of the songs featured on my new CD, Live in Ghent, which was recorded live in Belgium, and you can get that off my website, or for the folks here in the room, from me tonight.
Put your picture in a frame and late at night I call your name. There's never enough time for loving you. And all those silly games we played, all those nights I should have stayed. There's never enough time for loving you. Oh, there's never enough. Yeah, 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 yeah. There's never enough. Point that engine south, put the lipstick on your mouth, and baby, you know what I like. I'll be waiting at the station thinking about our situation, and oh, you know what I like. Hey, it's never enough. Yeah, 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 never enough. There's never enough time to show how much I love you. There's never enough time, Lord, now that just ain't fair. I will come to you. Come to me. 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 Yeah, late at night on my TV, all the stuff they're trying to sell to me, you know, it's just a substitute for your love. And twice as much for 1/3 more, hoping you'll be at my door bargaining with my soul for your love. And oh, it's never enough. Yeah, 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 it's never enough. There's never enough time to show how much I care. There's never enough time, Lord, it just ain't fair. I will come to you, come to me. I will come to you, come to me. All right, here comes that bridge I was telling you about. It goes like this. Feel less, hope more. Eat less and chew more. Wine less and breathe more. Talk less and say more. Hate less and love more. Hate less and love more. Hate less and love more. Love more, love more. There's never enough time to show how much I care. Never enough time, Lord, it just ain't fair. I will come to you, come to me. I will come to you, you come to me. I will come to you, come to me. I will come to you, come to me. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And that was Come to Me by our featured performer tonight, Manitoba Hal. Just wanted to say thanks again for coming in. Let's give him another round of applause.
Thank you.
The Conquerall Mills Music Show is hosted, produced, and mixed by Stefan Ramey, and our engineer in the recording booth this evening is Adam Fancy. To hear older broadcasts of the show, please visit our YouTube channel at Conquerall Music, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to be notified when new episodes are uploaded. You have been listening to the Conquerall Mills Music Show on 88.7 CKVE Cove FM and online at covefm.com. Tune in next week where our musical guest will be Alex Hickey. Keep it on Cove for Time Machine with Bob McDonald at 9 p.m. Have a good one, folks.